Call the Honourable Rodney Hyde.
Thank you, Mr Speaker. And on behalf of the ACT Party, I rise joyously to support this bill. Mr Speaker, we've heard from all the political parties here today that they all want the Hobbit movies to be a great success, and also every political party says that they want the Hobbit movies to be made in New Zealand. Well, I can assure this House that there's only one reason now why these movies are to be made in New Zealand, and that reason, sir, comes down to one man, and that man is our Prime Minister, John Key. It's impossible to imagine that Helen Clark would have had the ability to sit down with Warner Brothers and negotiate this deal and to give Warner Brothers the confidence. As for Phil Goff has been deafening in his silence while New Zealand has... I don't know.
Order. You can't refer to a member who's not here. Honourable Rodney Hyde.
Quite. Mr Speaker, I will not refer to Phil Goff again. Trevor Mallard, he wouldn't have been able to sit down with Warner Brothers and negotiate a deal. I don't think Russell Norman would have been able to sit down and negotiate a deal, but we're very fortunate because as our Prime Minister, one thing we know about that man, he can cut a deal. And he can look Warner Brothers in the eye as the Prime Minister of New Zealand and give them the assurance that they would need and protect New Zealand's interest. And let's be absolutely clear about the sequence of events. The Hobbit movies were to be made here until, and it's all very well to the Labour Party to talk about foreign interests, until a foreign union turned up here in New Zealand on the August the 17th, Mr Simon Whip of the International Actors Union from Australia, not even a Kiwi, and threatened a global boycott on the Hobbit and turned it all. Look, I know the Labour Party hate hearing this, but it's the truth. Simon Whip turned up here, threatened a global boycott on the movie, and it turned pear-shaped. By the way, I waited to hear the Labour Party's condemnation of this attack. I waited for the Labour Party to hear the condemnation of this overseas union. What did we hear? Nothing. Deafening silence. Deafening silence. And it was so outrageous was this union's behaviour that we had the remarkable experience of New Zealanders spontaneously organising themselves to protest against the union movement and its attack on New Zealand and the fundamental interests of workers in this country on Labour Day. On Labour Day. On Labour Day. And where was Phil Goff? Didn't hear a thing. Where was Trevor Mallard? Didn't hear a thing. Where was Parakura Horomia? Actually, I think I know where Parakura Horomia was, but I'm not allowed to say. Mr Speaker, nothing from the Labour Party, nothing from the Green Party, and they come in here and say, we would like the Hobbit movies to be made in New Zealand and to be a success. They were to go down the gurgler, and the National Party approached the ACT Party and said, would we support legislative change? And we said to do what? And they said to clarify that if a worker signs up as an individual contractor, that's what it'll be. Well, that's not bad, is it? That if you sign up a contract to be an individual contractor, that's what it be. And we said, of course, because we think that English words should mean what they say. And if it says individual contractor, you're not in an employment contract. What could be easier to understand than that? And I can understand Warner Brothers scratching their head, thinking about our Supreme Court and the way it interprets simple contracts and say, woo, you sign an individual person up as a contractor and it might turn out they're an employee. That's a big risk, Mr Speaker, and of course the ACT Party was happy to support that. You know, Mr Speaker, I heard Trevor Mallard ask the question, who wins and who loses? And I think it was a genuine question from Mr Mallard. So here's the answer, Mr Speaker. Well, New Zealand's the big winner, actually. It's a huge winner because these movies are to be made in New Zealand and they weren't to be made in New Zealand. Mr Speaker, the film industry here in New Zealand is clearly a big winner. Mr Speaker, it's also very, very clear that tourism is a big winner, particularly with the documentaries going on the DVDs, which will be huge for New Zealand. It's also very clear, Mr Speaker, that the workers in New Zealand are big winners, not just in the film industry, but right through New Zealand, because the confidence that this will put into the marketplace and into the economy and the tourism it will generate, they are big winners, Mr Speaker. Undoubtedly, the Prime Minister of New Zealand is a big winner because he actually single-handedly pulled it off. Why, where was Phil Goff? Where was the Labour Party? Where was the Green Party? Nowhere. Prime Minister went out and did it. And I'd like to think, Mr Speaker, that some of that glory will reflect back on the ACT Party and indeed the Maori Party and the United Party, and the good people of Epsom will think, actually, that wasn't too bad, was it? We got the Hobbit because we've got a good government, not that ragtag bunch over there who would have destroyed New Zealand's opportunities. So who are the losers? Trevor Mallard asks. Who are the losers? Let me think. I don't think it went very well for Mr Simon Whip. Oh, I don't think it went very well. I don't think it went very well for, what were they called? The International Actors Union. I don't think they're the winners. I think they look like losers. I don't think, Mr Speaker, that it went very well for Helen Kelly. I don't think the paper were very keen on it. I don't think the CTU came out of this smelling of roses. I don't think the CTU came out of this too good. I don't think, Mr Speaker, it looked very good for the New Zealand Union movement. Actually, I've got to tell you, but the big loser has to be the Labour Party. The big loser has to be Phil Goff, and the thought that they would come to this House and oppose this bill. Is that possible? Is that... Oh, poor Mr Darren Hughes. Poor Mr Darren. Well, Mr Darren Hughes says, poor Rodney, I didn't lose my seat last election. That member did. I actually kept my seat and increased my majority. That member, I didn't know this, but it turns out that that member was a minister. Did members this way know that? He was. And now he's sitting there in opposition on the back bench, and he says, poor Rodney. Well, I say, poor Darren Hughes, because the Labour Party's ties to the union movement, the fact that their president is a leader of the union, the EPMU, the fact that all their funding comes from the union movement means that they are boxed in on the wrong side of this argument. They're against the interests of the people of New Zealand. The Labour Party are the losers in this, Mr Speaker. Darren Hughes, be happy over there, Mr Hughes. Because of your decision this day, you're going to be a long time over there. And I haven't even got onto the Greens.
Order.